back to my channel. Before I get into today's video, I want to say thank you to all my returning subscribers. Very special welcome to those who are visiting for the first time, and a special shout out to all the new faces here today. My name is Rose and I am on a debt-free journey. I am a paycheck to paycheck budgeter. I do zero-based budgeting, and I'm so glad that you all decided to visit me today. Alright, so without further ado, let's jump into today's video where we'll be building a budget template in Excel. Alright, before we get into the video, what is a budget? So based on what the consumer.gov website says, a budget is a plan you write down to decide how you will spend your money each month, or how you will spend your money each pay period. Alright, why create a budget? A budget helps you to know exactly where your money is going. It helps you to meet your financial goals and prepare for emergencies. And a budget also helps you to know if you are living within your means. All right, so before we get into the Excel tutorial, I want you to grab your bank statements, grab your credit card statements, your debt statements, and open up your Excel worksheet or your budgeting notebook or whatever you need to follow along with me in this tutorial. Okay guys, so let us get into creating our Excel worksheet. So the first thing that I did when I started my budgeting journey was to create what I call my expense master log. So this expense master log contains all my expenses, whether it's paid monthly, weekly, semi-monthly, or annually. I'm starting in cell B2. I'm going to put the name. And my expense master log helps me when I'm creating my budget, because I always use it to refer to find which bills are due. So I have my expense description, then I have the due date, then I have the time. And the type is going to be whether it's fixed expense or it's a variable expense. Frequency, which is how often it's paid, and priority. And I include the priority column because I was in the process of cutting some of the expenses, especially subscriptions. So I'm just going to format the worksheet. I go to the format tab and I'm going to column width, and I think I'm going to do 25. So for type, I'm going to create a data validation just to make it a bit easier when I'm completing. So I go to data validation. For allow, I'm going to click list, and for type, I'm going to put fixed. Okay, and then I'm just going to drag this down so I can cover a few of the rows, and I'm going to stop at row number 30, and then all my selections are going to be here for this column on the tab. I'm going to do the same thing for frequency as well. I'm going to put monthly. For priority, I need to distinguish if these expenses are need or want. Okay, all right, so I'm just going to format this a little bit to my liking. So I highlight from B2 to F2. I'm going to use the merge and center. I'm going to change the font size to 20, make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to change the font size for these as well, 14. And I'm going to make everything bold. I'm just going to turn off the grid lines. So I go to view and uncheck the grid lines, and then I'm going to create my own borders. So I like the section that I want to border. Click on home, and I want to use the light gray color for the borders, and it's already selected. So I'm just going to do all borders. I'm going to border here as well. I'm just going to for little colors. All right. I'm also going to do one last other thing, and just to adjust the row height, I think I'm going to use 20. Let's see what 20 is, and I think that's good enough. So this is what my expense master log looks like. Format as a table, and I'm going to choose that my table has headers. Okay, and I still have my data validations here. So I did that as a table. So when you reach the last column, the last row, you can start typing, and it automatically creates another row without you having to go back and redo everything. If you want to turn off the filters, go to data and click on the filter button to take off the filters, and everything is still intact. Then the last thing that I'm going to do is to rename this worksheet. So I right click on the sheet 1, click on rename. All right, so the next worksheet that we're going to be creating is the budget worksheet. All right, so I'm just going to click on the plus sign right here to create another worksheet. Okay guys, so let us get into creating our budget template. So I'm going to start in B2 again. I like to start in cell B2 and caps and In B3, I'm going to put pay date, and in B4, I'm going to put budgeting period. So you can include your pay date, and you can include for budgeting period the date that your current paycheck is going to be covering all your expenses. All right, so let us get into creating the headings. So I'm going to start in B8, and I'm going to put income, budgeted, actual, and difference. So I'm using 4 columns. So income, you're going to be listing all your income. You're going to be listing the amount that you expect to get from your income. Then if you're doing your budget before you get your paycheck or before you actually see how much you're getting, let's say your income is not a consistent amount, it fluctuates. Then before you get your pay stubs, then you won't know your actual amount. So once you budget, let's say you're using your average last 3 months of income to get an average so you can have the budgeted amount. Once you get your pay stub, then you can put your actual, and then you can calculate the difference or the variance. All right, so let us format this, because I'm just gonna format this and then copy it across. I know a lot of people these days have multiple streams of income. So list all the income that you have coming into your, then I'm gonna put total right here. And now I can go ahead and format right here. So I'm going to go to the Home tab. I'm gonna, let me format this to 15 and see what it looks like. Okay, that looks okay. And the row I'm gonna leave that for now. Okay, so I'm also going to format these cells so that we have the currency figure. We can just choose it from right here. And I'm gonna do the calculation or the formula to get the total amount once you enter your amount in the cells. So this will be automating. Right. So to calculate the difference or the variance, so difference is going to be the actual amount minus the budgeted amount. So we're going to do equal sign, click in the actual cell, minus the budgeted amount. And then we can drag this down to the total column, to the total row. All right, so it is a good thing to do your budget variance or your difference, or what we can also call your budget analysis. Your difference column helps you to do your budget analysis. It's because it helps you to identify your spending patterns. It helps you to identify areas for improvement where you're overspending, where you need to cut. And it also helps you to decide how much you need to allocate for each line item in the next budget or any future budget that's coming up. All right, so let us copy this entire section. So select right click, copy, and I'm going to paste it right here in G8 and L8. So now I'm going to only change from the income to savings. So this is going to be my savings block, and this is going to be my summary block. All right, so I'm going to jump over to the next section, which is going to be completing for the expenses. And in B17, I'm going to put fixed expenses, budget, actual, and difference. Let's say down to row number 30. I'm going to put total, and I'm going to do my sum formula again. So it's equal sum. Then you go from the first cell under the budget and drag it down to the last cell before the total column. Then you press enter. Then you can drag this across. Let's format all of this. Then we're going to do the calculation for the difference, actual minus budgeted, and drag that down as well. And for this, I'm going to copy it as well. So copy and paste it right there. This section is going to be variable expenses. And right here is going to be your debt section. So I'm just going to highlight a couple rows, right click, click on insert, and it automatically adds the rows. So I'll just drag down this right here to get the formulas in the cell. And I'm going to double check to make sure that my total formula is capturing all the cells. All right, here I'm going to put miscellaneous. I'm just going to copy this heading, copy it. I'm going to put it right here, and this is going to be my miscellaneous. I'm going to copy the total right here, and I'm going to put it right here to complete the debt section. All right, so let us make sure that the formula for the miscellaneous section is correct. So I click in the formula cell and it's not correct. So I'm just gonna, let me just delete this, and then I'm just gonna re-enter the formula here, equal sum, open bracket, select the cells that you're adding together, close the bracket, press and enter, and then you just drag this across and we are good to go. Let's double check. So you click in the cell where you have the total formula, and you can click in the function bar, and there you have it right there. Okay, so okay guys, so let us go ahead and complete the summary section of the budget worksheet, and we're going to be linking the summary to each of the individual columns so we can have the total automatically populating in the summary section while you're completing the budget. So for total income, we're going to put equal, then we're going to go over to the income section, click on the cell that has the total under the budgeting column, and then you press enter, and we're going to do that for each of the categories. For total expenses, we're going to calculate both fixed and variable. Then we're going to be doing the actual column, equal, and we're going to be doing the same thing. Actual fixed expenses plus actual variable expenses. Okay, so we have all our formulas in our budget worksheet. So I'm just going to go ahead now and do a little bit more highlighting just to give it a little bit more color, and then adjust the column just by dragging it out. So you put your cursor point between the column B, the line on column B, column C, and just drag it out when you get that double headed arrow. Okay, so all right, let's see what else we can do. I'm just going to turn off the grid lines while I want the dark color. So let me go into the borders, and I'm going to reset the line color here to a lighter gray so it's not that bright. Okay, so available to budget is going to be equal to the budgeted amount, the amount of income that you have to budget for the period, and we're going to be subtracting all the amount that we already took out, so we can have an idea while we're creating the budget as to how much more we have to allocate. And available to spend is going to be the same thing except for the actual column. So the total amount that we have to actually spend minus the total amount that we already spent. And then what I'm going to do here is to create a little conditional formatting so that we can get an alert as to when we don't have any money to budget or we don't have any money left to spend. So I'm going to highlight both. I did highlight both. Click on the conditional formatting and highlight rules. So if it's greater than, let's do the less than first, less than 1. If it's less than 1, we're going to do a yellow fill and click on OK. All right, I'm going to do another formatting. If it's equal to 0, it's going to be red. And if it's greater than 1, it is going to be green. All right, so this is our budget template. And the next thing that I'm going to do is just a quick simulation to make sure that all our categories are working and our formulas are working correctly. So quickly, let's say we have total income. We're budgeting $2,000. All right, so we budget for rent and we are budgeting for groceries, and it's going to be real quick. So we budget $1,000 for rent and $200 for groceries. Adjust this column so that we can see the full variable expense, the word expense. So for variable expense, we're going to be paying water and sewer, and we are paying $150 for water and sewer. So while we are adding the budgeted amount, you see that your available to budget is automatically calculating. For debt, we have a credit card, and we're going to be budgeting $30 for the minimum payment only. We decided that we're going to be gifting someone something for their birthday, so we're budgeting $50 for that. Now you have $570 left over. It's up to you what you want to do with this $570. Let's say you have taken care of all your expenses for the period, and you want to build up your emergency fund. So we're going to put this into emergency fund, $570. All right, so right there now you're available to budget, it's down to 0. Let's say we received our pay today's payday and we actually got $2,200. All right, so here is where the difference comes in. So you have that difference amount right there. So for rent, you put your $1,000 for rent. You spend $250 for groceries because you got some extra money. Not recommendable, but you decided to do that. All right, so the difference is $50. So you overspent your budget category by $50. You paid your water bill for $150, and you paid your credit card. Let's say you put some extra money on your credit card, $100, and you give the person the $50. Now you still have $650 left to spend, and you decided that you are not going to be doing anything with this money. You're going to put it in your emergency fund. So you put your $650 in your emergency fund, And there you go. Your available to spend is down to zero, and your budget, all your budget is at zero. So you have accounted for all the money that came in. So you actually budgeted for 200, but you accounted for the 2,200 that actually came into your account. Okay. All right, let us. Okay, guys. So if you look here on the groceries, it shows that the actual amount spent was $250. So because we overspent on that category, I'm going to use a conditional formatting so that it can highlight for any line item that goes over the budgeted amount, so we can be alerted. All right, so I'm going to click in the first cell that contains the actual amount under the expense column. Then I'm going to go to conditional formatting, format rule. I'm going to click on greater than, and cell value greater than. I'm going to select the budgeted amount, and then I'm going to remove the dollar signs because I don't want it to be absolute, because I'm going to copy this formula onto the other cells. All right, so click on OK, and then I'm going to use the format painter to highlight all of this here. And here we go. It highlights the amount that is over the budgeted amount. So let me format these as well. Okay, so once you enter your information, once you enter your actual spending and the column is highlighted, then you know that you need to pay special attention to that column. Okay. All right. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be doing is creating an expense tracker. So I'm going to be starting in B2 again, expense tracker. And for your expense tracker, we're going to be having the date that you spent the money, the description, expense description, the amount that was spent, the payment type, and you can have a little note section if you want to. All right, so for the payment type, I'm going to create a data validation again. So I'm going to go to data validation, and we're going to put cash, and we're going to fill this section, and then we're going to format it as a table. This is a table so that it's easier to add an extra row and select my table as headers. All right, take off the filter buttons. So this is your expense tracker. So for each time you go to the grocery store, you put it there. Each time you buy fuel for your car, you put it there. You're tracking every spending that you're doing, and this will help you to identify your spending habits, and then you can see what you're able to adjust as we go along. So this is how I created my budget worksheet, and these are the three main documents, documents that I use to do my budget monthly. All right, so I hope that this video was informative to someone, and if you feel like this video might help another person, please consider sharing this video. Please give me a like please consider liking my video if you enjoy the content, and if you want to follow me on my journey, please subscribe to my channel. So until the next video, happy budgeting, and please pay attention to your expenses. Use your bank statements and all your debt statements to gather your information, complete your master log, and start your budgeting journey. All right, bye.